Hey, all right, we are live. We will chat check here. Definitely working on my side. So, without further ado, let's go to who's best by the numbers at Gateway. So, let's see. Looking like Joey Logano is going to be your favorite here. Of course, we've only had one race, so it's going to be pretty cut and dry here. We'll take a look at it here. Joey Logano, Kyle Busch, Kurt Busch, Ryan Blaney, Eric Almirola, Martin Truex Jr., Eric Jones, Ross Chastain, Christopher Bell, and AJ Allmendinger are your top 10 in average finish, which doesn't matter. There's only going to be one winner, and that is going to be Joey Logano. But let's go to one that I think is going to matter, and that's going to be laps led. So that's the only thing you can really look at here. And Kyle Busch, who is on the pole for this race, led 66 laps last year. So he's definitely got some strength there. Martin Truex Jr. has led 42 laps there. And Michael McDowell led 34. So, maybe Michael McDowell has something figured out on this track. Chase Briscoe led 27 laps. He definitely needs a win here after the penalties levied down to him. Austin Cindric at 26 and Joey Logano led 22. 12 apiece for Kurt Busch and Ryan Blaney. So Kurt Busch leading 12 laps here would lead you to think that 23:11 has some strength there. And Eric Jones actually led 4 laps here too. And he had some decent speed in practice. I don't know exactly where he qualified, but I would take a look at him as well. Now let's go to BetMGM and see what kind of numbers they are laying down for whoever. Denny Hamlin is actually the favorite. I'm not seeing that with the numbers. I don't know how they came to that conclusion as Denny Hamlin for your favorite there. He finished 34th here last year, didn't lead any laps. He started 6th, so I don't know where they pulled that from. But like I said, lines are lines. Kyle Busch at plus 600 is going to be your next one there. I actually like that one. I feel like that one's pretty strong. Ryan Blaney at plus 800. Ross Chastain also plus 800, plus 900 for Kyle Larson. And then plus 1,000 for Joey Logano and William Byron. Those seem to be your favorites. Let's see if we can go down here and see if there are any value picks down here that might. I don't really see any great value picks on this deal. If you want to take a swing at maybe a Ryan Preece, Eric Jones. Well, I guess Eric Jones, Ryan Preece, and AJ Allmendinger and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. are all plus 10,000. So maybe take a swing at them. Austin Dillon, Austin Dillon always shows up and wins a race on occasion. So there would probably be your best bets. And let's just because I want to see, where do they have Corey LaJoie listed here? Does anybody want to take a chance on Corey LaJoie? Corey LaJoie is at plus 5,000. So Corey LaJoie plus 5,000. All right, there you go. There's your preview, and we will jump into the chat and see what you all want to talk about. Adam Alfredson says Larson or Harvick. It would definitely be a huge win if Kevin Harvick was able to pull this off, and Kyle Larson is always in the hunt for it. Mark Barnum is going with Kyle Larson. Mark Barnum also says, I got you. So the chat is working. Howdy from Canada. Got to make coffee. Be right back. Howdy, y'all. What's up, Robin Marks? What's up, Canada? Shah says, what's up? What's up, Shah? Hot race today. So, yeah, the heat is definitely going to be a factor. We know with this particular car, heat is sort of heat is going to be an issue with this car regardless. But on a super hot day, you imagine the heat is definitely going to be an even bigger factor. And just going forward, because it's sort of regionally in the same area, heat, I think, is also going to be a huge factor on that Chicago street race when that happens. So I would definitely be keeping an eye out for the heat. There might be some relief drivers for some of these guys. If they're not running as well as they'd like to, they might call a relief driver for sure. Homer Simpson says, hey, BB, were you surprised that Corey LaJoie qualified so poorly? I don't know that I was surprised. It's always hard to do a one-off race when you haven't worked with those guys before. This might not be Corey LaJoie's track, and I've never put a whole lot of stock in qualifying anyway. If you look at some of these races, some of these guys have qualified poorly, but they're working on a race car, a long race setup or something like that. I would imagine that's probably what they're doing over there. And also, not for nothing, but sitting in the equipment that Corey LaJoie has been sitting in, and then sitting in this car that is definitely going to be way faster. No disrespect to Spire. That's a big transition. So he's not used to driving this car with this type of speed. So I think that's part of it too. So no, I wasn't super surprised, and I don't put a lot of stock in qualifying, to be totally honest. Especially in NASCAR Cup Series races. If it was a local short track, yes, qualifying matters because that's going to be all your track position. There are no pit stops, so sort of a bigger deal on a shorter race qualifying is, but in the Cup Series, not so much. You can get your track position in other ways. It definitely doesn't hurt to qualify well, obviously. Mark Barnum says, I think Sanchez needs to be parked for a week like Elliott. He flat out dumped Haley Deegan, says Mark Barnum. I haven't seen it yet, but I heard she got wrecked again, so I can't comment on it with any type of perspective because obviously I didn't see it. But yeah, definitely a bummer. Brian Chastain says, I had 2 bologna sandwiches this morning. I think everybody's ready for her to go to the Xfinity Series. I think everybody's kind of over the Truck Series right now. The Truck Series used to be so good. Elite Precision actually made a good video on this. The Truck Series used to be so good, and now it's just an absolute demolition derby wreck fest. Who can survive to the end? Not saying that the guys winning there aren't talented. They're definitely very talented, the guys that are winning there. But from 10th on back is just a disaster. Anyone catch the Joe Graff Jr.'s car yesterday, sponsored by a fire department and pit crew? Had a firefighter looking suits on. That's pretty awesome, says Ian Fisher. Yeah, that's definitely awesome. I love it when they do themed stuff like that. Not worried about Corey. Name any driver in the history of Cup racing, and they have miffed the qualifying lap. I think Corey will have a decent day and be on the charge. Yeah, I think he's going to make the most of this opportunity without a doubt. Mike says, I love the Johnny Cash shirt. Let's go, Larson. Yeah, for sure. Definitely got the old Johnny Cash, the infamous Rolling Stone cover, I think, was this picture. David Nyhoff, what's wrong with Blaney's car that it failed inspection? I don't know. The only thing I can tell you, David, is I feel like once the Ford teams realized that their nose was off, I think a lot of the Ford teams started pushing the envelope, trying to get every type of advantage they can get. And I think maybe some of these Ford teams have, I guess, crossed the line in NASCAR's eye. But I think those Ford teams, because you saw all the people that were disqualified were got held up in tech were Ford. I think Ford knows that they're down with their front downforce on their nose, and they're trying to find it in other ways. I think it would be interesting if Carson outperforms Corey, says Skyblazer RC. I mean, yeah, it would definitely be a talking point, but I think people know that Corey LaJoie is a pretty good race car driver. And they know that Carson Hocevar is also a good race car driver. So I don't think it would be that big of a deal. But it is going to be something interesting to watch for sure. Ian was a fan for FTC, a coffee brand, says Mark Barnum. Talking about the fireman get up there for the Xfinity Series. Swan Dog says, what's up? Still can't get used to LaJoie in the Napa colors. This has to be worse for Chase than sitting out with an injury. Yeah, for sure. And I think Door Bumper Clear brought up a pretty good point. If you're going to suspend them for rough driving, maybe take some points away from them too, because that'll and also NASCAR needs to be more consistent with it as well. Let's not overlook that. But yeah, take some points away too, because that would hurt them more than or just as bad as sitting them out. But yeah, watching somebody else drive your race car is always a tough deal. OJ and Toothpaste, do you think Greg Galding will win today? BB, he's pretty fast this weekend. Earth 2, OJ and Toothpaste, he has got to be my absolute favorite to win on Earth 2. Of course, winning on Earth 2 means you finish last in Earth 1. So yes, I would say Greg Galding is definitely he's definitely going to be my pick to win on Earth 2 today, no doubt about it. Glad we're talking about Earth 2. I don't know if you guys saw my post on Twitter, but the Fast and the Furious franchise, all that definitely happens in Earth 2. Because they showed the clip of the NASCAR race or the late model stock car race in 1989 from the Fast and Furious movie, and all you saw out there were 2000 to 2002 Chevy Monte Carlos. So apparently in 1989 they already had the 2000s model Chevy Monte Carlo. They skipped over the IROC Z's and Thunderbirds that the late model crowd was running back then. And of course, we know the physics in the Fast and Furious is definitely on Earth 2. Anyway, moving right along. Deegan needs to get out of trucks before her career is ruined. She actually is competent in Xfinity, and she isn't raced super aggro by the clowns, says Say Kyle. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think she's more suited to the Xfinity Series, and I think the Xfinity Series right now races with a lot more respect than the Truck Series. And she needs to hurry up and race in the Xfinity Series for all those people in the Truck Series get to the Xfinity Series and start driving the Xfinity Series like they're driving the Truck Series. If Carson outperforms Brian Chastain, if Carson outperforms Corey, that's going to look bad unless Corey wrecks or something like that. Yeah, and I think, to be honest with you, just given equipment, I think that's the only way that Carson Hocevar is going to outrun Corey LaJoie in that Spire equipment. Now, don't get me wrong, Spire does the best they can. And I think every once in a while, Spire does hit the setup, but they don't have the resources that these other teams have. And it's just one of those things. It is what it is. Brian Kidder says LaJoie better be careful what he wishes for when his substitute driver outruns him on the track. Look, nobody is doubting that Carson Hocevar has a lot of talent. There's no doubt about that. But I think Corey LaJoie is a good race car driver as well. Great opportunity for him. But even as good as Hocevar is, I don't see him elevating that equipment much past what Corey LaJoie has done with it either. 13 was passing on the outside 3 wide, slow car in the middle. She nailed from the rear for no real reason at all, says Robin Marks. Yeah, so I'll have to. I didn't get home last night till about 12:30 in the morning, so I'll have to go back and watch that one. I don't have a Johnny Cash shirt, so I'm rocking a. LOL says, say Kyle. There you go. I like it. I like your style. Mark Martin fan for life. Get ready for the chaos. If LaJoie wins, he's in the playoffs as a driver and the 9 for owner points. And Chase missed. Yeah, so that's probably the bigger point. Will Chase? There we go. Here we go. That's a poll question right there. I like it. I like it. There we go. We actually got a poll question on the preview show. I think that's fairly new. We haven't done it very often before. Will Chase Elliott miss the playoffs? That's going to be an absolute good question to ask. I'm interested to see what you guys have to say about it. So feel free to get your vote in on the poll question today. Get ready for chaos if LaJoie wins and he's in the playoffs. Now, that's the other aspect of it. If Corey LaJoie goes into the playoffs, will so many people, like they talked about with Austin Dillon last season, will so many people be like, oh, it's a wasted playoff spot, blah, 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 blah. Because that's all I heard last year with Austin Dillon, because a lot of people, I guess, just don't like Austin Dillon. A lot of people like Corey LaJoie, so I don't think you'd hear as much, oh, that's a wasted playoff spot. I think it would be reversed. I think a lot of people would be like, it's just so good to see somebody like Corey LaJoie in the playoffs, and blah, 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 blah. I don't think you get the same, oh, it's a waste of a playoff spot. But that's just my opinion on that one. Truck Series, there's your Austin Dillon simp for the day. There's your Austin Dillon simp for the day. Truck Series is short on seasoned veteran drivers like the old days, says Shy. Yeah, that's part of it too. Like you got Matt Crafton and a couple other guys in there like that. Stuart Friesen, although he's a veteran, he gets a lot of hate as well. So there you go. Mark Barnum has dropped the link to Haley Deegan being dumped. If you guys want to watch that, I'll check it out a little bit later myself. Because if I pull it up here, I'm afraid it'll crash the live stream because, of course, my internet stinks. Although it looks like they're laying down, what is it? High-speed internet. I forget what they call it. It's something Brightlink or something like that. It's something Brightlink, I think. But apparently we're getting high-speed internet here before too long. I hope it comes down my road. Matt Hunter, Zane was justified in feeling robbed yesterday. Thought he had a race in hand, hoping he's still in line to replace Harrison Burton for the Wood brothers. I think he's got a Cup Series ride lined up. I don't know which one it is, but the big rumor is that it is going to be the 21 car. So that's going to open up the question, does Harrison Burton go back down to Xfinity, or has Harrison Burton found somewhere else to sort of slide in and be the driver? Metallica Man says, nice Johnny Cash shirt, man. I had like 2 of those. I need another one. Go Martin. Yeah, this one was like, I think maybe $15 on Amazon. So I couldn't beat that price. So I was like, well, gotta have it. Let's see. I think your hot dog question is worth a YouTube poll as well, says Ian Fisher. So hey, there you go. That was a pretty good. I saw that one on the Cars Tour. Boo Carlisle with the Cars Tour. He's got a really good YouTube channel, by the way. It's called Kicking Asphalt. Check him out. Does great short track stuff, basically in-car camera and interviews, but he's working with the Cars Tour as well. He wanted a question to ask the drivers, and I suggested, is a hot dog a pork taco or is it a sandwich? That's what we want to know. That's the real question we want to know. So let's see. Where will Corey wind up? Right now, 51% are saying no, Chase will not miss the playoffs. Brian Chastain, is this one of the coolest tracks I've ever seen? Yeah, this track actually races really well. Where will Corey wind up today? My prediction is 18th, says Jamie Schweitzer. I have no idea, but I'm going to say he gets a top 15. So I would go a few positions higher than you, but I think he's going to get a top 15. It's just such a tall task to get into a car that is so much faster, but it's a long fiber optic. Thank you, Jamie Schweitzer. I could not think of that word to save my soul, but it's from Brightlink, and they're putting in the fiber optic stuff because they're sticking it in the ground. Let's see. Brian Chastain, a top 10 would be huge for Corey. Yeah, I think so too. I'd love to see him get another top 10. In good equipment, and we've seen him get a top 10 in the Spire stuff, so it's not out of the question at all. This stuff, by the way, Dr. Pepper has hit it out of the park with this. It is the there we go, strawberries and cream Dr. Pepper. It tastes like a liquid milkshake, if that makes any sense. That's pretty good. Let's see. Best results I'm hoping for today would be Cole's replacement in the 41 completing an SHR sweep this weekend with his first Cup race. Go Priest Lightning. So yeah, Ryan Priest is another one not a lot of people are talking about. This is a type of track that Ryan Priest could really take advantage of. Homer Simpson says, I would love to see Zane Smith in the 21. Yeah, so that's the big rumor. Zane Smith, definitely a lot of talk about him going to the 21, which begs the question, where is Harrison Burton going? Is he going back to Cup? I'm going to go ahead and close the poll out because it looks like 52% are saying no, he's not going to miss the playoffs. So we'll just go with it's probably 50-50. Probably 50-50 on that. Start a poll. There we go. There we go. We're getting into the real NASCAR questions now. Is a hot dog a sandwich, which I misspelled because I'm an idiot, or a pork taco? Always good to misspell something in a poll question. So there we go. Let's see. Team Penske fan, I'd be happy for Zane Smith to go to the 21. Also, can you give me fantasy driver picks? Fantasy driver picks, it's going to be kind of hard. I would actually go with laps led because that's going to tell you who's actually good at this one since there's only been one race. But let's jump into the fantasy picks. So if you go with laps led, Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr., Michael McDowell. So Michael McDowell and Chase Briscoe and Austin Cindric would sort of be my I guess your mid-tier drivers, if they're in mid-tier. Austin Cindric made the playoffs last year, and so did Chase Briscoe. Michael McDowell did not. So Michael McDowell, or did he? No, Michael McDowell did not make the playoffs last year. So Michael McDowell would be one of your mid-tier picks. Let's see. Eric Jones would be another good pick for a mid-tier pick. Anybody with 2311 would be a good mid-tier pick because Kurt Busch led 12 laps there. So those would sort of be your mid-tier picks. Let's see. But then your other ones, your top tier, you're going to want to pick either probably Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr. One of those two. And I don't know why they've got Denny Hamlin ranked up here so high. He didn't lead any laps, and he finished 34th. But Vegas has him as your favorite to win this race. So I'm not sure what that's all about. But that would sort of be my fantasy lineup. 52% going with pork taco. We're split down the middle on this one. I'm sort of surprised by that one so far. All three Team Penske cars are strong, starting in the top 10, says Jamie Schweitzer. So yeah, that's another thing. This is a Penske track, and Joey Logano, what were his odds? I wouldn't sleep on Joey Logano getting another one here as well. Ryan Blaney might get another one too. So I wouldn't sleep on any of those guys. Speaking of which, let me pull them up and look at their odds because I didn't look specifically at Team Penske's odds. Let's see. MGM, where do they have the Penske cats at? Your first Penske driver is going to be plus 1,000 with Joey Logano. So actually, if you want to make it all Penske day, it's probably not going to be bad because everybody, all the Penske drivers below Joey Logano are going to be plus 5,000 or greater. So that's actually not going to be. If you wanted to go full team Penske here, it wouldn't be bad. Plus 10,000 for Austin Cindric. I cannot find Ryan Blaney. Ryan Blaney is missing. Please report. There we go. Ryan Blaney at plus 800. So I was way off. I missed Ryan Blaney early on. So plus 800 for Ryan Blaney, plus 1,000 for Joey Logano, and plus, what was it, 5,000 or 10,000 for Cindric. Cindric's getting plus 10,000. So if you wanted to go pure Team Penske on that deal, there you go. Let's see here. Primus Winona video, Tim Alexander and Austin Dillon are twins. Tim Alexander and Austin Dillon are twins. There you go. Let's see. Primus, I think, is what I think I misread that. Primus Winona video. There we go. KB for the win today. If he does not give it away, yeah. So you got to look out for the pit road penalties for him. Will Ricky Craven make the top 100 NASCAR driver? Says OJ and Toothpaste. Without a doubt. Earth 2, Ricky Craven is an absolute legend. He had that one black mark in his career at the Southern 500 in Darlington, but other than that, he was an elite driver on Earth 2. Wait, a witch sand says Kyle. Yeah, I'm an idiot. I can't spell. I've told you guys that numerous times. I love the Xfinity Series, best racing in the world. Says Appalachian Dogs. Yeah, they got the best car right now, without a doubt, for stock car racing. KB for the win today. If he does not give it away, says Donnie Love. Yeah, for sure. He's got to keep it clean on pit road, but he's definitely got a good car. Xfinity race in Portland was boring to the end. Then it was a shootout. So, yeah, a lot of people talked about how good the Portland race was. I haven't seen it yet, but it looks like some people thought it was boring until the very end. Noah Gragson for the win and long odds payday, says Shas. Hey, there you go. Noah Gragson and Eric Jones actually have good cars today. Like I said, it's going to be a throwaway year for for Legacy Motor Club, but they definitely are going to have a few bright shining spots, and this is going to be one of the tracks that they're going to be good at. I think Cindric is finally going to have a good race today, says JFP. Yeah, he's definitely he's had a sophomore slump, I guess you could say. So hopefully he can get it going in the right direction. A hot dog is a taco, says Bumblebee. So there you go, pork taco. Bumblebee going pork taco on this. 57% going sandwich right now. It is flipped. It was 52 or 54% pork taco. So this has been a highly contested poll so far. So we're going to leave it up a little bit longer. Mark Martin fan for life. I saw LaJoy actually take a shot at Spire, saying they're like a truck team and organization compared to Hendrick. It may be true, but something you should say publicly. Yeah, like that's not good. I guess good form. I guess what am I, Captain Hook from Peter Pan, the Disney movie? Now that's poor form. Yeah, it's a bad thing to say, but I don't think Corey LaJoy really meant anything by that, and I think Spire knows where they're at too. Spire's trying to build, so hopefully they didn't take it super tough there. Bones with the super chat, fist bump. Appreciate you, Bones. Let's see. Jesse Jones, a hot dog is a hot dog, and he would be the expert there. Just based off name alone, I'm going to go Jesse Jones is the expert there. I think Jeb Burton, but if I don't give you the option of a hot dog is a hot dog, you have to vote. Sandwich or pork taco. Brian Chastain, I think Jeb would whoop Chandler Smith, but Chris Rice would whoop them both. That's a tough call. Jeb was getting handled like a small child by the pit crew member, which is all in how you view it. Some people like the pit crew shouldn't get involved, and then some people like the pit crew just taking care of their driver. So it is what it is. A hot dog is fun on a bun, says Robin Marks. Ketchup on a hot dog is illegal, says Mark Barnum. So we've got a what was that guy? Anthony Bourdain. We got an Anthony Bourdain parts travels unknown, places unknown, or whatever. He always said that on that show. That was a great show, by the way. Unfortunate, I guess mental illness at the end of the day took him away, but he had a great show. Good documentary on HBO about him as well. So far, looking bad for Corey. Carson has outdone him so far this week. Well, we'll see what happens in the race. Hey, BB, what's up? What's up, Jermaine boy? Good to see you on here as always. I'm going with a tough driver lineup today. Hopefully, these drivers won't let me down. Chastain, Cindric, Wallace, Blaney, Bush, and Logano. Dude, I like all those picks there. That's a solid driver lineup for your fantasy team. I like that. I wouldn't really change. Normally, I'm like, oh, I would change this or that. I wouldn't change a thing on that one. That one looks legit. Shah says, Martin, now that I've said that, now that I've given it the thumbs up and the okay, you know how my luck is, right? It's probably going to be terrible. Shah says Mark Barnum has to be Ketchup. Spelling is stupid, says Robin Marks. Yeah, spelling is overrated. Winona's Big Brown Beaver music video is hysterical. Tim Herb, the drummer, also plays drums at the South Park concert. Hey, so there you go. I'll have to check that one out. I have not seen the video. Ketchup. Oh, got another super chat. I'm way behind on the chat, man. I got to catch up here. Mark Martin fan, appreciate the super chat. Blaney will go back to back. He broke the slump. Hey, so there you go. There is a good chance that he could go back to back. There's no doubt about that. I do, and fist bump for the super chat. Forgot to do that part. But yeah, no doubt about it. I think Blaney has and that's one of those deals. Sometimes when people go winless for a long period of time, they get that first win and then they start rolling them off. So I think that's actually probably a fair thing to say. Bumblebee says people calling yesterday's race boring. Get out. All three stages had awesome moments. So there you go. Like I can't comment on it because, like I said, I got home at midnight and I haven't seen anything except for a few replays that I watched while I was at South Boston yesterday. Yesterday was good. I agree. Race good. Yesterday was a good race. Says Shaw. Tube steak sandwich, says Bones. There you go. Tube steak sandwich. That's what I should have put instead of just sandwich. Sandwich. Jamie Schweitzer, top 10, starting the race. 3 Penske, 2 JGR. I believe only 1 HMS car in the top 10, and that HMS car is going to be Kyle Larson, no doubt about it. Me spell not so good, says Shaw. Yeah, me too. I'm terrible at it. Let's see. Autocorrect also doesn't like me, so I'm messed up both ways. Team Fancy fan, I find it crazy how a few years ago Matty D was in the 21 and he couldn't get an Xfinity ride and went back to trucks where he is doing good, but he is used to be viewed as a cup talent by most people. Yeah, I think the way he left the Wood Brothers is sort of what hurt his career. I don't think anybody doubts his talent. I think it was the statements he made when he left the Wood Brothers is actually probably what hurt him the most. Matty D is underrated, says JFB. I'm a Harvick fan who will be the team leader next year, says Ray Sawyer. I think the team leader is going to be either Chase Briscoe or Josh Berry. One of those guys will step into that role, no doubt about it. Baloney is a flat hot dog. It's the what is it? It's the pancake. It's the pork pancake of the pork world. Ace Speedway with that one. Check out Ace Speedway. Their YouTube channel is amazing, by the way. They've got probably the best videographer in the game, me, and they've got Blake McCandless, the best announcer in the game, in my opinion, as well. So check them out. Definitely a great YouTube channel. Say Kyle, not Cal. I don't mind a crew member breaking it up, but I do mind a crew member hitting or trying to choke a driver. It's not a tryout for the UFC. Yeah, and so that's I guess the issue. Some people saw that as a choke. I just saw that as he had a arm around his neck. Like if he wanted to choke him out, that guy's huge. He could have choked him out. I think he was just trying to separate it, and he just had him by the head like that. Either way, Chris Rice didn't look like he was. So another Jeb Burton fight, by the way, too. So not for nothing. Jeb Burton gonna win it. When Jeb Burton, I guess, sees something go down, he's gonna, I guess, stand up for himself. But yeah, it all depends on how you viewed that arm around the neck. Was it a choke or was that a guy just trying to separate two dudes? Like I don't know. Leah Pruitt qualified number 1 for Top Fuel this week. So there you go. A bright spot for Tony Stewart. His wife is actually at least doing good, even though the NASCAR side of things probably not what he wants to do. Jermaine says, do you play the Fox Bet Super 6? No, I haven't tried that yet, but maybe I need to try that one day because Clint Boyer does like to give away money. I know last week it looks like they didn't get I don't think anybody won last week. I predict last place finish will be Eric Almirola. Oh, man. So Eric Almirola, I don't know what his stats even look like at this. But, William Thomas, with the super chat. Appreciate you there, William Thomas, with this bump. Let's see. I got to head out. Enjoy the race, everyone. Says, say Kyle Escobar says, if Carson outruns Corey today, what would you think the team will do? I don't think it'll be that big of a deal. They've got 2 cars over there, so if they want to keep both of them, they can keep both of them. If Carson were somehow to win the race, Corey would be left without a ride. LOL, says Brian Chastain. I don't know about all that, but we'll see. We'll have to see what happens. There's also the option that whatchamacallit was talking. Nice Motorsport was talking about coming up the Cup. So maybe if Carson runs good, maybe Nice just decides they come up the Cup. Big Will Hawaii, aloha baloney man. Spelling, remember the smartest man in the world, Albert Einstein, couldn't spell a lick, says Big Will Hawaii. Hey, so there you go. We'll roll with that. I appreciate you there, Big Wheel. NASCAR and Rainbows, Mark Kirby. I don't get political, so yeah, whatever. I don't care who you sleep with. It doesn't bother me at all. Just keep it to yourself. Mark Martin fan for life. Am I wrong thinking Adam Alexander and Jamie Mack are better combination than the regular Fox booth? Jamie McMurray is definitely gaining a lot of traction. I see a lot of people talking about him all the time, and I see a lot of people obviously have been on the Adam Alexander train for a long time. So I see a lot of people talking about them. So maybe they're sort of in the future of that deal. OJ and Toothpaste. BB, do you think we live on a flat Earth? Depends on which Earth you're talking about. Earth 2, you can live wherever you want to live. So if you want Earth 2 to be flat, but Earth 1 is definitely round. If you get high enough up in an airplane, you can see the arc of Earth 2 or Earth 1 and know that it's round. So Earth 1 is definitely round. It's not flat. Earth 2, we'll go ahead and make that the flat toaster Earnhardt 3 shaped Earth, though. So that can be a flat 3. Riding with wheels. I think Mr. Rowdy is going to get a win today. I understand Cruz took out for their driver, but I did not even see Chandler Smith in the scuffle. Yeah. So Chandler Smith, I didn't see him from the clip. The one clip I saw, I didn't even see Chandler Smith involved in it. So I don't know. But this has got to be the third, maybe the second or third this year. Jeff Burton, at least fighting or talking crap incident within a year, maybe not within the same year, calendar year. I would say calendar year. This is got to be his second or third flare up. We'll see. I'm picking Kyle Larson. Excuse me. I'm picking Kyle Larson or that pollen yesterday. Woo. I'm picking Kyle Larson or Denny Hamlin for the win. My dark horse would be Bubba Wallace. He's been running really well lately, says Homer Simpson. So yeah, either 2311 car actually, I would say at this track, if you just look at the numbers, has to be in the ball game there. T-Van, what's up, man? OJ and Toothpaste. The Earth is square, silly, says Shaw. So there you go. Square Earth, square Earthers in the house, I guess. Jamie Schweitzer, was Michael Waltrip among the 75 NASCAR drivers? I don't think he was in the top 75 NASCAR drivers. I don't recall seeing his name. Don't forget to lap the lick button. So yeah, if you want to lick the like button or like the like button or whatever you want to do, don't feel pressured. But if you want to hit that like button, it would be much appreciated. Do you think Carson Hocevar will win today, BB? I think that's going to be a tall task, but I do think he has a legitimate shot at a top 15 to a top 10. I do think he can get that done. Matt Hunter says icing on the cake today would be driver number 34 wiping out Hamlin and Chastain on his way to a top 5 finish. McDowell skullduggery, says Matt Hunter. Skullduggery, that's a word you don't see as often as you should. I'll say that. But yeah, I think Michael McDowell and maybe he could get Ty Gibbs in there too, like Rick Ty Gibbs too, because he's had beef with all those guys, right? Michael McDowell putting on the villain cape, even like the super Christian Michael McDowell putting on the aggressive villain cape. All of a sudden, I like it. I like that he's driving people the way that they've been driving him. I guess, in his opinion, it's all opinion based. But yeah, I like the new aggressive Michael McDowell. I hope he keeps it up. Carson will wreck LaJoy today. Okay. That would be Mark Barnum. That would be a storyline for sure. Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. David Nyhoff says this race isn't Talladega or a road course. You just can't plug and play drivers, says David. Yeah, I agree with that. It's a totally different deal. Carson Hocevar will be lucky to finish the race, in my opinion. He ain't that good, says Shah. So there you go. Carson Hocevar does have a history of either winning or wrecking. He is that type of dude. So that is a fair statement. So, and also, not for nothing, this is going to be one of the longest races Carson Hocevar has ever raced in. And this car is significantly hotter than the trucks or the Xfinity Series cars. So that is also going to be a factor, and it is a super hot today. I don't think just Carson Hocevar. I think there's going to be a lot of guys in this field who are really going to feel the effects of this heat. Let's see. So I think that's a fair statement, not only for Carson Hocevar, but for everybody in the field. Escobar says, I think Dale Jr. wants to get into Cup. He needs to go ahead and move on it. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. For whatever reason, and I'm not spending anybody's money, but for whatever reason, they seem to have backed off on wanting to be in the Cup Series over there at Junior Motorsports. So we'll have to see how that goes going forward. But I do think their easiest path in is to buy into Spire or buy out Spire, one or the other. I think that's going to be their best, easiest way to slide in. Picks are Ross and Austin and Harvick too, says Robin Marks. I like all those picks. I like all those picks for sure. Gary Floyd, whose haulers had the trouble? Was it Alpha Prime? I can't remember whose. It was either Alpha Prime. It was an Xfinity Series driver, but I'm thinking it's Alpha Prime, but I might be wrong about that. OJ and Toothpaste, do you like Formula One or IndyCar better? About the same, to be totally honest. I like Formula One for the car. Like, I like to see how they build those cars, just totally different from each other, but they have one set of rules that they have to build it into, which is where the formula part of Formula One comes from. They have a rules formula that they try to stick into. IndyCar is just totally different. All the cars are more or less the same. You got a different engine supplier like Honda and Chevy, but that's about it. So you would think it's basically a spec car, so you would think the driver would shine more in IndyCar. Man, but that being said, like I like both of them. You just appreciate them for different reasons, I guess. Would be the short answer to that. Long answer, there are things about one sport that I like, and things about the same sport that I don't like, and you could go down the list tit for tat with that. But I like both of them. I don't like. I guess we'll go to the things you don't like. I don't like the snobbiness of Formula One fans. I would say that they are kind of snobby, especially if you're like, hey, I like NASCAR and Formula One. They're like, oh, you like NASCAR, and like they just look down. A lot of Formula One fans will look down on that. Or at least a high enough percentage on social media, I should say. IndyCar, I like them because it's like more like you can walk up into the paddock and talk to the drivers and stuff like that. So there are things I like about one series better than the other. But I'd say I like both series about the same. TJ Moorshed, Brad K breaks that winless streak today. Mark my words, says TJ Moorshed. I'm liking your pick there. Brad Keselowski, don't sleep on Brad Keselowski here. I think he's got a legitimate shot. Mark Langren, Portland is a fun driver's track. Yeah, I think Portland is definitely going to. I would love to see the Cup cars get there one day. One day. Alpha Prime haulers, I believe, says JFP. So there you go. I think I was right. So it is. I think it is Alpha Prime. If it's hot, Harvick has to be hot too, says Robin Marks. No doubt about it. Kevin Harvick. He has a history of winning races when it's super hot. Do you think Jimmy Johnson will run the Chicago street race in a couple weeks, says OJ and Toothpaste? I don't know. I wouldn't put it. It's one of those races I think he wants to race. Kurt Busch really wanted to race that race as well. So I think there might be a few surprise drivers in there. Hotter than the sun here in the Midwest. It will be 130 in them cars today, says Mark Barnum. Yeah, I think driver attrition is actually going to be something you seriously have to look at. There might be some backup drivers that go in some of these cars. There's no doubt about that in my mind. And some of these smaller teams might just actually have to park the cars because they're too hot. JJ Yaley ran a USAC sprint car this weekend at Knoxville. So, yeah, JJ Yaley's still getting it done as many places as he can, whenever he can. Greg Brown, has anyone mentioned Le Mans, the Garage 56? That's next week, but yeah, I'm definitely going to keep up with it. This will be my first time pulling for Jimmy Johnson. Who knew my life would sink to this, says Greg Brown. And how does Chevrolet have to feel about a Toyota man basically driving their Garage 56 entry? So that's another thing you can bring up now. Mark Langren, spec series with way different levels of funding. IndyCar, yeah, for sure. No doubt about it. There are parts and pieces on that IndyCar you can get an advantage on. That's actually a critique people have had of the McLaren racing team. what's his name, Scott Brown. They've had some issues with how much money he's spending on a spec car in a sport that has a spec car to sort of keep costs down. So that has been a critique of IndyCar as well. Willow Spicewood, you're a proud owner of Out of the Groove Diecast. Oh yeah, so this came in the mail the other day. So there you go. Is on the back of it somewhere on the deck lid. There's Bologna Burger on the back, so that's pretty cool. Let's see. Morning, everybody. Says One Wise Guy. What's up, One Wise Guy? Happy morning to you on the west side. Robin Mark says F1 is boring. It was okay back before Michael Schumacher won every race for years. Yeah, that's sort of when I got out of it too. Then about the time Juan Pablo Montoya got back, I started to get back into it a little bit because I knew Michael Schumacher was sort of toward the end of his deal. Mark Barnum, hey, One Wise Guy. I say bring back team owners into the booth each week, like Mr. H, MJ, Roger, Captain Penske, and Joe Gibbs. I think they should have some, like back in the day in the 80s, they actually had rotating guests where they would just talk to people while the race is going on. That's something I do miss from the old school back in the day stuff. Ned, Benny, and all them, even though Ned and Benny, I guess, were technically the 90s. Portland is a perfect example to put in place of Auto Club. I always remember things being in the 80s, but they never were. It was really the 90s because I was a little kid in the 80s. So anyway, Portland in the perfect track to put in place of Auto Club at the expense of another road course race as well. Portland, in my opinion, Portland is one they could slide in for because I think the Chicago Street Course is going to be one and done. So that's one date they could use for Portland if they want to be on the west coast. Since Portland is technically on the west coast, you could use one of the California dates for that. So all kinds of places they could slide it in. The booth said Blaney was long run speed, but I never saw his 20 or 30 lap average, says William Thomas. So yeah, if it goes long run, sort of the opposite of what Blaney had, I guess, last week. If it goes long run this week, it's going to be in Blaney's advantage. Do you think Legacy Motor Club will win a couple races this year? Says OJ and Toothpaste. I really doubt it. I really doubt it. Zach Brown. Thank you, Mark Langren. I don't know why I wanted to say Scott Brown, but Zach Brown is the McLaren guy. Did you speak about the Jeb Burton incident and how about Cole Custer? Yes. So how about that? Cole Custer with the win. No doubt about it. But yeah, the Jeb Burton deal, like I said, all I saw was him being restrained. The guy, and it depends on how you want to look at it. The guy was either pulling him back in a headlock or some people thought he was choking him out. Look, if he was choking him out, that was the worst choke lock I've ever seen in my life because it doesn't take but about 7 to 10 seconds to choke somebody out like that. So I don't think he was trying to choke him so much as he had him in a headlock and he was just trying to pull him back. And then it became pure clown world because another guy went behind him and did the same thing to him. Like that's what I'm saying. Leave it to the professionals in the UFC octagon for that type of crap. But that being said, at the end of the day, another flare up for Jeb Burton. But let's not let that overshadow the fact that Cole Custer won a race. Congratulations to Cole Custer. He gets a lot of hate for being born to the parents he was born to. Did you watch the truck race yesterday? No, I was at South Boston. I didn't get to see any of it yesterday. Mark Langren, other than a few highlights of the lowlights, to be honest. Elite Precision, yo, what's up? What's up, Elite? I hate coming to the stream with a negative thought, but I got a feeling today's race is going to be like a 2 out of 10. Denny versus Ross saved last year's race. Yeah, I mean, hopefully not. There's a lot of different storylines. So as long as the TV broadcast plays up the right storylines, I think they can make the most out of it. I think the biggest storyline today is going to be the heat because I think it's going to be super hot in those cars. I want to see who actually falls out of the seat and has to get replaced because we know these cars are hotter than the Xfinity cars. They're hotter than the old Cup cars, and they're definitely hotter than the Truck Series cars. And this is going to be the longest race for Carson Hocevar. So that's one person I'm actually going to look at the most. How is the heat and the extended distance going to affect Carson Hocevar? Big Wheel Hawaii says not to blow too much smoke, but you have the voice, timing, and the knowledge. What you're doing is hard. Gig, appreciate it, Big Wheel. I'm just having fun on here, but I'm glad you all appreciate it, and I'm glad that I'm getting better every time I get up here and do that, or at least I'm trying to get better. One Wise Guy says, what's up to Mark? Mark Langren. It would be nice to see AJ win. No doubt about it. I would love to see AJ Allmendinger pull off sort of an upset here and win. But if you remember, AJ Allmendinger is actually really good at short tracks and road courses. and more recently super speedways. So AJ Allmendinger's been around long enough. He's starting to put it all together. Dale Jr. should try and get Carson Hocevar in the 8. Well, I think now that Josh Berry is moving on, Carson Hocevar has to be a strong candidate to go in that 8 car. Or should I say, mask how bad last year's race was? Says Elite Precision. Yeah, that definitely helped last year's race. Just like Martinsville, Ross riding the wall, that definitely helped that race, because if Ross hadn't have pulled the Hail Melon or whatever, then that Martinsville race last year would have been remembered for how boring it was. How was your race weekend? Says David Nyhoff. We finished Jason Barnes, Craig's rear end. I think the springs wore out in the rear end, so the lockers weren't locking, which effectively made his car loose. So he didn't even race. We just pulled him after practice. But Jason Barnes got 7th in the first race. Then our mechanical bad luck continued because his alternator died in race 2 before it even really started. It actually died in between race 1 and 2. And, well, that killed the battery. So race 2, we parked it. I guess we finished dead last in race 2, if I'm guessing. Mark Langren, I remember when Gateway was a glorified swamp. We ran there, and you didn't want to go off track unless you wanted water inside the car. There's some tracks here that still don't have a wall. I think Florence in South Carolina, they don't have a backstretch wall either. So not a swamp over there by any means. But yeah, there's definitely some places if you run off now still that you you don't have a good day. If LaJoy wins, the Chase's car will be in the playoffs. Points, team owner points wise, yes, but Corey LaJoy would get the driver's playoff, so it would be sort of a split deal. And owners points are what pays. So yes, Corey LaJoy would be in the playoffs, but owners points, the 9 car would be in the playoffs. Like SHR should get rid of the 10 car and driver, repackage the 39, put Ryan Sieg in there, and use his Xfinity team as Ford's driver development team. I would love to see the Siegs get some type of love from any type of manufacturer. Cornfed Covers with the super chat. Appreciate you, buddy. He says, great job, EB. Do you think Enfinger will ever get a shot to move up? That is a great question, man. Like, everybody talks about Zane Smith. Grant Enfinger, what does this dude have to do? All he does is win, and nobody ever wants to put him even in an Xfinity Series car. So I don't understand what's going on with that, but he's definitely an absolute talent. And hopefully somebody picks up the phone and calls him and puts him in a car pretty soon. I'm thinking Dinger picks up his win at Sonoma. There's definitely a strong possibility. Sonoma is going to be very interesting because you're going to have Chase Elliott probably trying to get his win there too. So I think Sonoma is shaping up to be sort of there's going to be a lot of road course guys that are out of the playoffs right now that are going to look at Sonoma, and I think Sonoma has a chance to be sort of like Daytona with the way people are going to drive so aggressively. You might have a couple big wrecks at Sonoma with people just being overly aggressive, thinking that this is their best opportunity to get into the playoffs. Red Bull has won every single F1 race so far this year. LOL says OJ and Toothpaste. Yep. Back in the day, it used to be the same thing with Ferrari and Michael Schumacher. I'm a Ferrari guy, and even I got bored with Michael Schumacher winning all the time. And if, in case you're wondering why I'm a Ferrari guy, well, if you look at where Ferrari is located, it is right beside Bologna, Italy. So there you go. That answers that question. Greg Brown, also, it's a bright red car. I thought Sheldon Creed was actually pretty chill yesterday after the race. He's going to win one soon. Yeah, I would love to see Creed get in there and get a dub, no doubt about it. Bumblebee says Grant's age is hurting him. He's 38. Yeah, that stinks. But you would think somebody would at least give him like a backup driver role or something like that. But also him being with Ford is probably not helping because all of Ford stuff is locked up right now. Chevrolet seems to have the most openings for backup drivers, at least right now. I agree. Grant is talented, but unfortunately, I just see him being a truck lifer, same as Matt DiBenedetto. And look, hey, there's nothing wrong with that. One of my favorite race car drivers of all time is Ron Hornaday. So if Grant Enfinger might be the next Ron Hornaday. I think if Grant Enfinger stays in the Truck Series long enough, he'll get into the Hall of Fame, much like Ron Hornaday Jr. did. So maybe that's going to be his deal. Matt Crafton type guy, although he wins more often than Matt Crafton, but Matt Crafton's just a super. He likes to point his way into everything. Grant will be a truck lifer like Crafton and Friesen. Elite says they deserve better, though. I agree with you. Hopefully somebody like back in the day, Dick Trickle got his start. He was an older guy. He got to run the full season in the '84 when Bobby Allison got hurt. So hopefully there's a situation like that. Thomas Haywood, Jeb Burton is a real hothead. I mean, I think there's enough evidence to point to that and say that is accurate because he's had 3 or 4 incidents within a calendar year. So I think that's fair. But you also got to look at it. He's got so much pressure on him. He knows he has to win. He has to win now to give him any type of chance to get it to the Cup Series from his way of thinking. Now, I know a lot of you are going to be like, Jeb Burton will never get to the Cup Series. I'm just saying what he's thinking. I've got to win a bunch of races, to get to the Cup Series in the equipment that I'm in. So I think that's where some of the aggressiveness comes from as well. How times have changed. Harry Gant was 35 when he got his shot in the Cup Series. Yeah, average age of the Cup Series rookies back in the day was like 30 or 32 before Jeff Gordon. That's actually the NASCAR where you can draw the line is before and after Jeff Gordon. Definitely nothing wrong with that at all, says Elite. BB, do you think Michael Waltrip should be in the booth full time? Maybe Mike Joy play-by-play role. I like Michael Waltrip in the Truck Series, so him being in the booth all the time wouldn't bother me. They seem to be married to him being on pit road for the pit walk, so I don't know. I think they've sort of typecast him as a goofy character, but he actually does good on play-by-play for the Truck Series, so I wouldn't mind him in the booth. We actually need older truck vets in the Truck Series. I think so too. It would clean it up quite a bit. I'm with you 100%, Elite. And actually, I mentioned your video earlier. You made a great video about why the Truck Series has gotten to where it's gotten. And I think 100% that was one of the better points you made. You need more older drivers in the Truck Series just to sort of even it out, because you've got all these young kids that don't necessarily even know any better. That they're just used to doing that on a short track, and they're not realizing the speeds that they're going at now. That is even more. It's always dangerous, but it's even more dangerous at the speeds they're going at, driving like a bunch of clowns. Dick Trickle in his 50s when he won Rookie of the Year, says Homer Simpson. Yeah, 100%. And he's got. If you've never heard that speech when Dick Trickle won Rookie of the Year, go Google that one. It's a pretty hilarious speech. Possible poll questions: will we see drivers involved in an out-of-car physical altercation today? Says James. I think it's going to be so hot that if you saw any physical altercation after the race, or during the race or whatever, it won't be after the race. I'll almost promise you that. But if you see it during the race, it's going to be early on in the race, because by the time this race goes midway, they're going to be so hot in those cars that they're not going to have any energy to do anything but holler and fuss at each other. I'm going to go ahead and close this poll question. And I will ask that question, but I'm going to ask it in a different way. Do we get drama this week like the last 2 weeks? I'll ask it like that. Because the last couple of weeks, basically all we've talked about has been drama. Like it's just Chase Elliott and Denny Hamlin and just drama. It's been a drama llama week. So no, 71% yes right now. It flipped that quickly. You need to start a bologna burger food truck to take with you to the racetracks and sell your merch as well. Funny story about that, T-Van. I had a food truck when I was working at the factory. I was working on it. Then the everything going on, shutdown of the world happened. And I finished the food truck, finished building it. And then the YouTube channel took off, and I was offered a job to work on race cars. So I sold the food truck just recently, actually. I held on to it way too long because I was like, I'm going to use it one day. I'm really going to use it. So I actually had a food truck and I sold it. Funny story. It was pretty close to happening. Mark Langren, remember in the past you had to have age experience to race and not wreck equipment, says Mark Langren. Yeah, back in the day it was merit based. And Kyle Busch, actually, I've been trying to make this video about Kyle Busch's comments all week. I haven't had a chance to get to it. It is like middle of racing season for late models, so I don't have as much time as I did earlier on in the season, but I'm going to get to that Kyle Busch quote because he made a great quote and he made some good points in that comment. Do you like Chipotle? Says OJ and toothpaste. I can take it or leave it. It's not bad. I prefer like real Mexican restaurants, but Chipotle is pretty good. They put a ton of rice in their stuff though. Big Wheel Hawaii, but it does have good flavor. Bingo Ron Horn today, aka Ron, use your horn today. He was great. He was a big Dale fan. Oh, no doubt about it. The best thing ever is when Dale Jr. had him on the podcast, and he talked about when Dale Sr. fired him and he did burnouts in the parking lot, going off on him. But obviously they made up later. Let's see. Triple his car, another Midwest guy, says Mark Langren. Trickle. Okay, Trickle in his car. He was another Midwest guy. Yeah, no doubt about it. He was a Wisconsin man, if I'm not mistaken. Dick Trickle, best name in NASCAR. Either him or Slick Johnson. Mike Honcho. Slick Johnson was another good one. Let's see. I remember Trickle smoking cigarettes in his car. Yeah, him and David Pearson both had the lighters put in their cars. I miss Johnny Benson in the Truck Series. Johnny Benson was just really good in every series he was in. MB2 Motorsports, that was the killer of careers. Killed his career, killed Scott Riggs' career. It was that 10 car, that MB2. It never materialized into what it could have been. Bikini runs mid-pack, and that is where the wrecks are. Improve driving or be wrecked. Yeah, like I said, she's going to be better off in the Xfinity Series. She might have to be like Harvick and come back to the Truck Series later in life and get her wins there. Did you see Grandin Finger win yesterday? Because I was at the track for the second time at a Worldwide Technology Raceway, Dawson Fair. I did not see it because I was at South Boston Speedway watching. It was a good race. The first race was won by Carter Langley, and then the last race, talking about late model races, the last race was won by Donnelly. I can't remember the guy's first name, but it was his first win, and it was a photo finish, and he was looking left. He said this in his interview. A lot of people like Peyton Sellers wrecked him at the end. He was looking left because it was such a photo finish, and he forgot to let out of the gas because he was looking left to see if he won, and he forgot to get out of the gas, and he wrecked himself and going into turn one. But a lot of people didn't see it that way. But even in his interview after the race, he said that he wrecked himself by staying in the gas. He was so pumped up. It was just one of them deals, and stuff like that at the short track happens so fast. So, A, kudos to him for winning, and B, kudos to him for keeping it 100 and saying, hey, I was looking left and I stayed in the gas and I wrecked myself. That actually wasn't on Peyton, so that was pretty fun. She was 8th when she got dumped this week, says Mark Barnum. So, yeah, once again, and I think she was running either 12th or 13th last week when she got caught up in Zane Smith's deal. OJ and Toothpaste, do you think Bill Elliott should be in the Fox booth full-time? Unpopular opinion, I didn't see where Bill Elliott was like all that great compared to the other peoples they had in the booth that particular deal during that particular deal. So I think they've got some better options. But Bill Elliott, 100% a fan favorite. So I'll get crushed for that in the comments. There's no doubt about it. But it's fine. What was your bologna burger food truck going to be serving? I was going to do breakfast. I was going to do pancakes and coffee. So that's the route I was going. And I had some specialty pancakes too, with like bacon and stuff like it wasn't just going to be like regular pancakes. There was like some. I used to be a cook, so I'm not as douchey as some food people are, but like I had some pretty cool stuff that was going to be going on. Let's see. Thomas Haywood. So Corey, Bubba, and Suarez make it a habit to use their middle finger. They all said it. Yeah, and so does Johnny Cash. Like I could care less about the middle finger incident. Like it's one of those deals where people that don't like Bubba are going to be like, hey, we're going to use this to not like Bubba. Like to me, that was a nothing burger. It is what it is. But at the end of the day, it was on national TV, and the argument is always going to be, what about the children? So, I mean, fair enough. So, that being said, time and place, you got to know where you're at. You got to know where the TV cameras are at too. So, it was stupid on his part because you got to know the TV camera is there. But the middle finger to me, how I grew up, not that big of a deal. That being said, if you've got kids, I understand the argument. But I think the vast majority of the hate was people that already don't like Bubba Wallace for whatever reason. There are plenty of reasons not to like Bubba Wallace. So it is what it is. Do you think Haley Deegan is going to there's plenty of reasons to like Bubba Wallace as well. Always have to counter that. Going to the Xfinity Series next year. Yeah, I think she's got to go to the Xfinity Series next year just to keep her momentum going, and she just needs a change of scenery. Like trucks has been a disaster for her. She just needs to move on. Brisket on the new smoker, says Mark Langren. Yes, sir. What up, Elite? This dude just out here putting out fire videos. Tell him corn-fed covers. Elite has not put out a bad video yet. I dislike the 11 the most, says Thomas Haywood. I think a lot of people are like that. Who is the most hated driver, says Homer Simpson. I had no clue. It would probably be between Denny Hamlin. As far as what I hear being booed at the racetrack, most often it would either be Bubba Wallace, Denny Hamlin, or Kyle Busch. Those usually have, and Joey Logano. Those would be the four. Those would have to be your four that get booed the loudest at the racetrack. Bill was average to terrible in the booth, says Brian Burley. Yeah, I didn't think he did great in the booth. I think he's a great race car driver. I think he's got a ton of knowledge. I just think he's so quiet and reserved. The booth doesn't really suit him without a lot of coaching and practice. FedEx back to the 11 for some races, says Thomas Haywood. Yeah, I think they're going to re-sign next year too, because if you've looked at their stock is soaring since they reorganized. But I don't think they're going to up their sponsorship stuff. I think they're just going to keep about the same amount of races that they've got this year, which is a big scale back to previous seasons. Whose car is she going to wreck and finish poorly in? Well, it'll be a Ford one, so you'd have to imagine SHR. Brian Burley, if you're a sponsor, you care about the middle finger. I got to be professional. That's what I'm saying. There's a time and place. Like being in the race car, flip people off all day, all you want to. But you got to know when the camera's in front of you. That's the part of it I'm talking about was stupid. That was just stupid. So, yeah, you do got to know where you are and when you can pull that off. But that being said, to me, wasn't a big deal. But you're right. Some sponsors might care about that. We know that, who was it? Blue Emu, they cared significantly when he quit in an iRacing race when he rage quit. So, you never know what sponsors care about. So that is a fair point. NASCAR wants to save money, but they waste it by spending all their money on dirt at Bristol, says Ray Saylor. And I mean, also rebuilding the LA Coliseum every year. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff NASCAR could tighten up on. No doubt about that. Since you were a cook, BB, do you ever consider doing Hell's Kitchen show? No, I would not do Hell's Kitchen. That stuff is too made for TV. I don't do well with people yelling at me and being in my face like that. I don't handle that with not hitting them back. So with my fist. So I would not be a good candidate for that. Other drivers never get blasted for it. Stop hating Bubba for stuff. We all do. Says Bumblebee. See, I mean, that's a fair statement too. Cause like we've seen, who was it? Chase Elliott, Josh Berry. I mean, run down the list. There were the other drivers that have flipped off the camera too. Thomas Haywood, Brian, you're right. Just a bad look. Riding with wheels. Screenshot this because he's gonna be a factor in a couple of years. Corey Heim, Carson Hocevar, and Sheldon Creed will be in a Cup car by 2025. Yeah, Corey Heim for sure. Carson Hocevar, I think he's got a good chance too. And Sheldon Creed, yeah, I agree with you. I think all of them have a really good chance of being in a Cup car. No doubt about it. I actually agree with you there, Riding Wheels. I think all those guys are next in line. I would put Austin Hill slightly ahead of Sheldon Creed, but I think you're right about all of them. I think they all get the Cup eventually. David Nyhoff says, what's your favorite driver rivalry of all time? Mine is Earnhardt versus Jeff Bodine. That's a good one. Ricky Rudd versus Dale Earnhardt. Dale Earnhardt versus Jeff Gordon. Probably the go-to. Petty Pearson, I was too young to remember that one. There have been a bunch of them. Let me think about it for a minute. My friends and I used to middle finger as a way to say hi. Says like dislike. Yeah, me and mine too. And Bubba does that with his friends too. But you can't do it on camera. I guess that's the point I was making there about it being dumb. You got to know when to do it and when not to do it. You got to know when the cameras are on. And standing beside Jamie Little is a time you got to know where the camera's on. Oh yes, Bubba better tan that Austin Dillon. Says Thomas Haywood. Kyle Busch has been getting more cheers this year. Yeah, Carl Edwards was surprised by that when he came back for his one deal in NASCAR, doing the 75 thing. Mark Langren, every form of racing has the finger. I'm sure you have. I have. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You just gotta know when the camera's on, when the race is over, not to do it there. But I don't think he thought the camera was on in that moment. But you got to know if you're standing beside Jamie Little, there's a chance. Has LaJoy figured out that the 9 car isn't really that much better than the 7 car is? Says Brian Kidder. Hey, so there you go. There you go. That's a lot. A lot of people have been saying that, I guess. Homer Simpson, I see the middle finger every day on my way to work. Brian Burley, I can't stand the name Exalta. Sounds like a prescription drug company. I can see the commercial now of Brian Vickers talking about how Exalta changed his life. Yeah, so basically, DuPont got so much bad press that they just, in my opinion, and it's just that, in my opinion, they took DuPont off of the car and started putting DuPont brands on there because they didn't want to hear all the nonsense about how terrible DuPont was. Same thing with Dow Chemicals. You see a lot of Dow Chemical stuff on Austin Dillon's car instead of it being actually Dow itself. Rolling on the floor, laughing my butt off. Imagine BB punching out Ramsey. I don't know if I'd punch him out. I'm just saying I'd take a swing. He's probably tougher than me, to be honest with you, at the end of the day. But I'm not going to listen to it for 24 straight hours of him being in my ear. Thomas Haywood, Bumblebee 48, not picking on Bubba. He's doing really well. Yeah, Bubba Wallace, like, look, here's the deal. You either like him or you don't. He's a good race car driver. Some people will push back on that, but he's got results now to back it up. He's a good race car driver, but he has a lot attached to him, and people either like him or hate him. So whenever you say Bubba Wallace, immediately it's like, people just have to say something. So it is what it is. I don't think paint like I did with DuPont. As you used to see DuPont on everything, including the sides of buildings. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. DuPont got so much bad press for multitudes of reasons that they've pulled off the DuPont sponsorship stuff and they've gone with DuPont brands. That Raptor stuff on William Byron's car, that's also DuPont. OJ and toothpaste. So you're saying you and Chef Ramsey would get into a fight if he was screaming in your face, BB? I'm just saying I think he would get the point that. And you've seen this on other shows. There are some people he knows not to yell at. So let's keep it real. He had a show where he went. He did something in a prison. He wasn't yelling at those guys. Like, he knew the deal. Like, so I think he gets who he can yell at and bully, and he gets who he can't yell at and bully. So it is what it is. What do you think Carson Hocevar will do in his Cup Series debut today? I think he'll run pretty well. I think him and Corey LaJoy both have a chance of getting a top 15 to a top 20. Corey LaJoy has a chance to get a top 10. Carson Hocevar, I think his window is 15 to 20. NASCAR should choose the one dirt cup race each year to be whichever track is slated to be repaved. I mean, that would be a fair way of doing it. But I don't know if you could do a 1.5 mile dirt track for some of them. I vote Jeff versus Senior. Yeah. So I don't know. For me, I guess I remember Jeff Gordon versus Earnhardt the most. The second most one I remember was Harvick versus Ricky Rudd and Dale Earnhardt Sr. versus Ricky Rudd. So those are the big three that I remember from the top of my head as being the bigger rivalries. Jeff Bodine versus Earnhardt. I remember people talking about it, but I wasn't old enough to remember it. So might have been a bigger deal. I don't remember it being a bigger deal because I was so young, or it either happened before I was born. I can't remember. But I do remember people talking about it because they would always reference that when Senior and Rudd got into it. My two favorite all-time names are Jocko Majacomo and Bosco Lowe. Jocko Majacomo, I always thought that was a made-up name, but that was really that dude's name. Bosco Lowe, I'm not familiar with him, but Slick Johnson is underrated. He was, I think he drove the 48 car too, or maybe the 50. But I think he was the 48 before Jimmy Johnson was the 48, if I'm not mistaken. Y'all from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. What's up, Cassandra Keller? Good to have you on here as always. I worked with a fuel team. I watched Rex and my health and team. I was around it. I quit racing. I was real sick too. It was unknown, blood illness. The weekend I knew it was Scott K died the same weekend. So yeah, definitely didn't have the safety back then like they do now. Gatorade, no doubt about it. hopefully you're doing okay now. In my opinion, Carson put on a better qualifying yesterday in the 7 than Corey did, says one wise guy. Yeah, but we'll just have to see what happens. Like, I think both of them are good race car drivers, so I don't know. I don't feel like I have to say one's better than the other because I think they're both good. Do you watch CSI Miami FBI shows? Says OJ and Toothpaste. I stopped watching. I used to watch them. My mom still watches them, so whenever I visit her, if she has them on, I'll watch them then. But I stopped watching them probably mid. Golly, like maybe 2013 or something like that. I stopped watching them then. But yeah, I used to watch them. I thought NCIS was another one I used to watch. Mark Harmon and all them. Mark Barnum says, like to see Briscoe give NASCAR the middle finger and win a race and be in the playoffs. Seeing they dropped the top 30 in points rule. Yeah, I think, I mean, all those drivers that got penalties, they're definitely in win or go home mode. Brian Burley, Tony already looks more respected and maybe even more skilled than Deegan. We'll see. We'll have to see about that. I think I'll just go ahead and say this one. I think Haley Deegan's a way better driver than Tony Bredinger. But that's just from what I've seen at the local short tracks and stuff. Corey LaJoy will win today, says John Ray. So there you go. There's one vote for Corey winning. So are the fans leaving NASCAR because of supporting Pride Month, says Thomas Haywood? I don't know. I've never given a crap about any of that stuff. I don't care who you sleep with, but keep it to yourself. That's always been my take on it. Tony B is from NorCal. Sonoma is her home track. Hey, so there you go. She has some laps there. And Deegan is from somewhere in California too. So Mark Langren, if you are going to run dirt, run a real dirt track and bring in temporary stands, says Mark Langren. Yeah, I think that's probably the better one too. Scott K told me to go home in '84. I was in shock and still in illness. I know the name, and I gave them the guy who was control on. Go see him crash on TV. It hurt. Says Gator Red. So yeah, it's always tough when you got to watch one actually happen on TV. That's the worst. LaJoy wins today. That win gets him into the playoffs, right? Says Brian Burley. Yeah, it would get him into the driver. He would, drivers wise, be in the playoffs. The points with the 9 car in points, owners points would be in the playoffs over there, and owners points is what pays out. Gordon versus Jarrett. Chevy did Ford both in their prime. Yeah, that was another good one. ARCA drivers dump Tony, just like the truck drivers dump Haley, says Mark Barnum. I mean, that's a fair point, too. That's a fair point. OJ and Toothpaste, I heard they might have to make one Talladega date next year on dirt. Bob Parker said a couple weeks ago, will be crazy to have a super speedway dirt, 190 mile per hour drafting. I don't know about that. We'll see. We will see. I don't think Talladega is going to lose any of their regular races. The rivalry I recall most is Gordon versus Earnhardt. Another driver, another great driver. His name was Lake Speed, especially if he raced boats. Yeah, Lake Speed was a good one too. Underrated name. Gatorade. It was blood cancer and med blood thinner on my relation known by the court. Cassandra Keller, I like the comments regarding Chase Briscoe. Yeah, I think Chase Briscoe, he's got a chance to win. He's not going to point his way in, so he knows he's got to win or get in. Do you think Tony Bredinger will be a full-time Truck Series driver next year? Well, she's in the Toyota commercial, so I would say she's got a pretty fair chance of being in the Toyota truck next year full-time. I know Bill Elliott does not need to be in the booth, says Riding with Wheels. Yeah, he didn't add that much, just being totally honest. Cassandra is the snow gone yet, says Mark Langren. Briscoe and Cindric are in the same boat in my book. Good at low level, but will never be champions unless a bunch of drivers wreck. So there you go. I think what holds Briscoe back is he's just so kamikaze. He's either going to wreck or win. If he could sort of even that out, I think that would help him quite a bit. Bosco Lowe was a legend at Hickory Speedway. Carson Hocevar will win today. Hey, there you go. Carson Hocevar getting the love there from Dawson Fair. Ward Burton belongs in the booth. Oh, man. Ward Burton in the booth would be the bomb. Jocko ran on the West Coast, Trans Am and SCCA. I like it. NASCAR driver battles for me was Jaws versus the Intimidator. Yeah, Darrell Waltrip's career goes largely unlooked at. Deegan is from Temecula, California. So there you go, Temecula, California. One of my favorite California names, by the way. San Luis Obispo is another one. They got some cool names in California. Carl Edwards versus Brad K was an excellent rivalry. Big Sur, also SUR is another beautiful cliff mountain, by the way, and also one of my favorite names up there. Jack Kerouac, Big Sur, good novel. Anyway, Homer Simpson, Carl Edwards versus Brad K was an excellent. Oh yeah, that was a really good one. Homer Simpson for sure, because Bob Keselowski was about to get involved. He's like, I'll strap up and get in one of these cars and wreck him myself. He ain't gonna hurt my boy. That was old Bob Keselowski, man. I miss that guy. What a great racer. Are you still gonna have your post race show? Says Brian. Yeah, we'll go post race today for sure. I am back home. I am somewhat well rested for race car life. So, yeah, we're doing it tonight. Do you feel bad for Chase and SHR for that penalty? Yeah. It's a rough penalty, man. But they basically were cheating. So I don't know if I feel bad. I feel bad for Chase Briscoe. I don't feel bad for the team because the team was engaging in some tomfoolery. But that being said, they know the Ford nose is down. They were trying to do something. So I actually respect it too. So it's just I got weird thoughts on it. The Gordon Earnhardt and Gordon Jr. Rivalry were so big because that was at the peak of NASCAR merchandising. I wish we could get back to that day in terms of variety of NASCAR gear. I'm with you on that. I miss the good old days of having a ton of NASCAR stuff to pick through. They had just so much stuff. Like people don't even realize, like mugs, flags, hats, towels. There was just all kinds of crazy stuff. Phones, there like these. You see that Richard Petty card? That's actually a telephone. Like back in the day, they had they slapped it on everything, man. It was so cool. Kyle Busch, the first P1 in 4 years. I was surprised it had been that long. Yeah, I was too. That took me by surprise because I would have lost the bet if you were like, how many polls did Kyle Busch had last year? I would have been like, oh, he had one or two because you're just so used to him getting polls and stuff like that. Would love if LaJoy makes the playoffs and Elliott doesn't. This race is the deciding factor. Says like versus dislike. That would be pretty hilarious. Let's see. Their personalities being different. I was big too. Black and the rainbow is pretty as opposite as you can get. Yeah, and Dale Sr. even told him to play it up like that. Too bad we never got any Gordon Flame versus Black Goodwrench races. It's a shame. Yeah, that is a bummer for sure. Didn't Jaws and Senior wreck each other and Jeff won? Too funny. Yeah, that was at Richmond Fairgrounds or whatever they called it back in the day before it became Richmond International Speedway before they tore it down and repaved it or redid it completely. Chrome Diesel, the most development skills, builds an Xfinity series rather than trucks. Deegan needs to go to Xfinity full time. So does Carson. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on that. I think Xfinity. You know how many truck races Ty Gibbs ran? 0. Ty Gibbs is killing it this season in the Cup Series. Yes, he's got the best equipment you can get, but that being said, I'm just telling you, like driving that truck doesn't necessarily always equate. It doesn't always equate to driving a race car. It's just a totally different deal. That caused the demise of Robbie Gordon as a Cup driver and team owner. I think if isn't getting as much money, and also it's impossible in this day and age. Back says Homer Simpson. Yeah, I got one of those back there too. Actually, right behind the Richard Petty one. You can see the very top of the white 3. I got that one too. But I got them after the fact on eBay because I always wanted them as a little kid. And there's a Jeff Gordon one all the way to the other side of that Dale Jr. Lumina. Other side of my helmet. Over there is the Jeff Gordon one with the rainbow. Jamie, I think the 2008 Las Vegas crash for Gordon started the demise. It could be. You have that Out of the Groove diecast. How many diecasts do you have? I have no idea how many I have. People always want me to do like episodes on them, and I just never have time. I did one short on the diecast deal, and that didn't go well. So I stopped doing the diecast videos. I'll leave that to the professionals. Camaro 50. Wow, I did not know that. Robbie wasn't loved by sponsors that couldn't fit in. Yeah, that's another issue too. Like he had the best he ever had, I think, was Jim Beam. And I think when Jim Beam left, that was sort of the end of the end for them. He's got a speed energy drink, and that's what he sponsors most of his stuff with now. Do you think SHR and Greg Zippy were telling the truth about the part? What do you think it was an accident? An accident that they left it on, yeah. But then you got to question, why are you making a part like that and stamping a fake number on it? So they obviously were trying to figure out a way to cheat, and they left it on there maybe by accident. It would be the only part of that you could even believe. But either way, the intention to cheat was there. So it is what it is. That being said, I actually respect it because they know they're down. Their nose is off compared to other cars. So I actually respect the fact that they're trying something to get better. But that being said, you got caught, you get caught, you got to pay the penalty. Truck Series was, I hope it was worth it. Truck Series was better when it was retirement series. Yeah, and hopefully one day it'll get to that as well. Brian Burley, Gordon didn't have a demise. Dude legit won 7 to 8 championships, but they changed the point system. Yeah, I mean that's a fair statement too, and I think that's part of the reason he retired. He was just he was burnt out because he'd been doing it for so long, and B, I think he saw the new point system as lame. Too many drivers in the Truck Series thinking they're playing a video game. That is a very fair statement, David Nyhoff. You can also say that for late models. Happy race day, Bologna Burger, and everyone out there. Be safe, says William Wagman. Yeah, and we're gonna hop off here in just a couple minutes. But Gordon was a driver owner of the 24 and 48, has 11 championships, not including his work the last few years as an executive. Yeah, that's a fair statement too. But he wasn't the sole owner, so he had other people doing the behind the scenes lifting of the weights there. Jeff Gordon got screwed by the chase, says Chrome Diesel, without a doubt. The most affected driver by the chase format was Jeff Gordon. Kenny Wallace calling the race should be really affected in a negative way. Affected in a positive way is, of course, Jimmy Johnson. Kenny Wallace calling the race today should be really good. I agree. He ain't all there. LOL, says Camaro 50. Yeah, it's gonna be like having 2 Clint Boyers in the booth today. Are you gonna check out Indy at Detroit? I guess so. Dawson Fair, I can smell your glasses. That's weird. I got a 928 phone, says Mark Langren. So there you go. I got the Porsche 928 telephone. And we've made it to the end of them. So that is that. I will check you on the next one after the race is over with. Y'all have a good one. Hope your driver does good today. And peace.